Welcome back to Yang Daily. First off, if you didn't catch episode 31, please go back and listen to that first, as it has vitally important information for the Yang Gang, this podcast's future, and what you can do to keep it going. If you're already caught up, then here's the short and skinny for today. First off, if you haven't heard, there is a HumanityFirst Discord server that you should join for general Yang Gang organizing efforts, in addition to Scott Santon's server. There is also a UBI Caucus Discord server, and you can find them all in the links below. Kurt Akin wrote a great article on Medium to help organize the Yang Gang going forward. He calls for a number of actions. Number 1, turning the Yang Gang into a broader Humanity First movement. 2, he wants us to develop a manifesto of values and suggests the following to start with. Human value is distinct from crudely measured economic value. Reason and data, not divisive ideology, should be the drivers of public policy. And emerging technologies fundamentally alter the social contract as framed prior to the 21st century. Action number 3 is to reform our representation of UBI away from a solution for automation and toward a Bill of Civil Rights. Personally, this is the way I've always seen UBI, as it really isn't a solution for automation, and Yang never pretended that it was. It helps a bit by creating new jobs and cushioning the blow of losing a job, but it's only the start. More importantly, it should be a human right to have the means to survive. James Treacle argues access to minimal capital is as vital as access to education and healthcare. Number 4 for Kurt is he calls for a major gathering for everyone in the Humanity First movement to attend somewhere in the US where we could officially ratify such a manifesto. Number 5 is perhaps the most ambitious, which is to build a Humanity First service corps, quote, an ongoing, well-researched cadre of volunteers under the Humanity First banner would be analogous to a domestic Peace Corps that identifies major problems right here in America and targets them with organized acts of kindness and service. Should a crisis or a disaster arise in the United States, Humanity First Service Corps would be among the first to arrive, uniformed and ready to lend a hand. The Corps could run pop-up Humanity First drives to address more day-to-day problems as well. Our efforts would build a portfolio of positive media reporting and goodwill among ordinary people, end quote. And number 6 is to build a war chest through an informal monthly donation pledge from members to fund these and other efforts. I think these are all great ideas that we should pursue. I wanted to see Yang using the campaign funds for humanitarian efforts and community outreach, doing more along the lines of the UBI giveaway and showing his policies in action. It would be a novel use of campaign funds to directly help the people instead of giving it all to ad agencies and networks, and it would generate free press and win hearts and minds. It sounds like this is what Kurt has in mind for Humanity First Corps, and it would be a great way to set the stage for Yang in 2024, as well as advancing separate agendas for UBI and other policies. As for Yang himself, Kurt suggests that Yang stay relevant and go ahead with the American scorecard, even if not as president. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Compiling those metrics and presenting them yearly would cement the idea in people's minds and open their eyes to the real state of things, making all our other work easier. Thank you for all the great ideas, Kurt. Please spread these far and wide, Yang Gang. The Humanity Forward Fund seems to be thinking along the same lines, as they have already formed a humanity organizing corps to train the most dedicated in the Yang Gang Humanity First movement in effective grassroots organizing techniques and strategies. If you want to be a leader of the new movement, then sign up below. For those still voting Yang, Steven on Twitter has Yang Super Tuesday overpass banners that he's willing to send to Yang Gang who want them. If you live in or near Sacramento, there's an event in March to lobby local policy activists, and SoCal Yang Gang will be lobbying for UBI to be introduced as legislation. Join them. And don't forget to keep checking yang2020.com/events for local Yang Gang events, because it's still working and we're still meeting. Another article came out on closing retail stores from Harley Peterson of Business Insider. The rate of closings has been accelerating every year, with 9,000 closings last year and an expected 12,000 this year, as automation and e-commerce continue to wipe out brick and mortar. Among the big losers are JCPenney, Hallmark, Macy's, Bed Bath & Beyond, Kmart, Sears, Bose, Forever 21, Chico's, Walgreens, The Gap, Papyrus, and Pier 1 Imports. Martha Ross and Nicole Bateman wrote an article for The Avenue which argued that low headline unemployment isn't worth much when currently 44% of all workers in the U.S. are being paid barely enough to live on at an average of $10.22 per hour, a finding of their earlier analysis. They point out that upskilling or making higher education more accessible will not solve the problem, as many of the jobs currently not requiring degrees still will need to be staffed, even after a large chunk of them are automated. Ross and Bateman conclude that we need to stop masking the problem with misleading metrics like unemployment, and that a fundamental shift is needed in federal economic policy to address how wages have been falling relative to living costs for decades. Sounds like American Scorecard. Sounds like UBI. The Humanity Forward Fund has been putting up billboards thanking Andrew for how he's changed our lives. It's both a nice gesture and advertising for the movement and for 2024. Attention to all Oregon residents. You now have a UBI caucus member in the running. Check out Heidi Briones and support her bid for Congress and UBI any way you can. Also, attention if you live in Kansas, because you just got ranked choice voting for the Democratic Party. I only know of one other state using it, and I am super jealous because that is perhaps the most important change we need to make in order to fix our broken democratic system so we can finally start getting the people we really want into office. Congrats to Kansas. May all the states soon follow. And that'll do it for today's Yang Daily. Check out the Humanity First, UBI Caucus, and Scott Santon's Discord servers. Sign up for the Humanity Organizing Corps. Grab your Overpass banner. Sign up to lobby for UBI in Sacramento. Support Heidi in Oregon. Check your local Yang Gang events. Email me at yangdailypodcast@gmail.com if you can spare a few bucks a month to keep this podcast going. And don't forget to Yang Daily.